Welcome to the Halftime Podcast, 15-minute show where two panelists with opposing views must discuss why theirs is the best, and you get to decide the winner.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Halftime Podcast. I'm your host, Danny Cook, and we have another fantastic show lined up for you today. On to today, I'm joined by one fantastic panelist in the form of Conor Martin. Conor, it's great to have you back on.
Morning, Danny. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, thank you.
Good. Absolute pleasure to have you back on. And Conor today is going to be discussing if we will see safe standing in the Premier League. Now, this comes off the back of West Brom at the time of recording, appealing to the government to get sort of permission, as they say, to use safe standing to pilot it in one of their stands, and they were going to pilot around 3,000 seats. However, that has since been rejected. We'll come on to Conor's views and whether we'll see it in the not so distant future. But before we begin, don't forget to cast your vote in the comments section below, or in the poll, and your view in the comments section below. Please do send them in, as they're always interesting to read. Anyway, Conor, let's do this. So first things first, should safe standing be introduced to the Premier League?
I think it should. I mean, it's worked out well for Celtic so far. Works around Europe, and I think football's learned from the past. You had tragedies in the past, like Heysel, Hillsborough, like standings are such as that, and football's developed, evolved, and people were put in like the relevant sort of structures, like seating, standing, and it's worked well so far. So I think British football, or English football more specifically, would adapt well to it.
Okay, and obviously you said it has been introduced to Celtic. Do you know when that was introduced at all, roughly?
In fact, I think it was a few seasons ago, about maybe 2015, 2016.
Okay,
I think I'll have to check. But
that's all right. That's all right. And what was the fans' reaction at the time? Do you remember? Do you remember them being sort of for it or very much against it?
I mean, I think like Celtic fans are mostly being for it. I mean, they've got the Green Brigade there. They have their banners. They sort of replicate what they do out in Germany, countries like that, with their banners and that, the songs. And like you watch, I don't know, old firm Champions League night when Celtic play, the place is usually rocking, especially in that sort of section. So I say the standing there creates more of an atmosphere than you would at a seated ground.
Yeah, we'll come on to the atmosphere in due course. So what other pros? You've mentioned the atmosphere there. Is there any other pros to potentially having safe standing?
I mean, that's how you could say you get a better view of the pitch. I mean, funny enough, I know that sounds stupid, but I don't know. It's just
That's fine. I mean, one very minute one that pops into my head is like, certainly yourself and I obviously support some lower league teams as well. So it kind of, I would imagine, put us sort of in touch with our lower league relations, should we say, yeah, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's just, it does get you more involved, I'd say, because it's, I don't know, there's sort of like a feeling when you're standing there watching the football rather than sitting down to a bit more. I don't know, it's hard to, it seems like you're a bit distant from the game. You're right.
And yeah, I guess that we might as well move on to the atmosphere bit now, because it's just inevitable. But yeah, like, I'm guessing you have that sensation if you're standing up, you kind of feel obliged to join in and participate in the chants.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I know at QPR when I sit in the R block, which is where most of the singing's sort of done, you got the old lads who fancy themselves as a bit of a firm. Anyway, when the Loftus Road's rocking, everyone's standing up. You can't beat it, to be honest. Yeah, it just, I don't know, like it gets the blood pumping, and the whole place is rocking. The standing, but the sort of atmosphere wouldn't be the same if everyone was sitting down. Because when people sit down, you sort of associate that with when your team's not doing too well. But when your team's getting well, you sort of get more into it. Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you see where I'm coming from.
Yeah, and I mean, one issue I think just popped into my head. What about the young fans? There's obviously, certainly myself in my childhood, I was not blessed with much height. So, could you imagine having some tall person jumping up and down in front of this poor 8-year-old version of myself, not being able to see? How could
it just pass the kids off the shoulders?
yeah, other than getting a piggyback or going on the shoulders, what do you think that there's anything they could maybe do? I mean, I don't really know personally, other than the fans maybe being a bit respectful and just being aware if there is a 7-year-old behind you, you can't jump up and down. I don't know. Any ideas?
I mean, I'd say that you'd have a sort of like a family sort of area in the ground. I'd say.
Yeah.
You'd have a standing section for, I don't know, anyone over the age of 18, maybe 16. Because then by 16, 18, most people are of like a reasonable height. And
I'm still waiting.
We'll get you some magic beans.
Yeah, I want some magic beans.
Yeah, I mean, 16, 18 is a perfect age for like people to stand in, and anyone under 16, like I say, a family area, and you got youngers like below the age of 10 or something, they can go with their dads or the mums, and yeah, they can watch the game there seated or whatever.
Okay, yeah, no, I mean that's a very logical idea. Yeah, I could probably see that being implemented as well. So I like that. In terms of the atmosphere, going back to that now, is this something that compared to German football, and certainly obviously Celtic Rangers when they play each other, do you think that maybe English football lacks that atmosphere at times?
Oh, I mean, I think English football definitely lacks atmosphere. I say it lacks passion as well, especially in the Premier League. I mean, you've seen it yourself. You've got Norwich with Ipswich.
Yeah.
And I say the passion in that, there must be a few. I'd say it'll be much better when them two play. Say, like, if Norwich plays on like Barnsley. Like, would you agree? Like, the atmosphere is a bit more fierce.
Oh, yeah, certainly in derbies.
Yeah, so I'd say, like, the passion definitely comes out.
Yeah, I mean, it's there, isn't it? It is there. The passion's there. I just wonder if you attribute that to the fact that it's seated and not standing. I just wonder if that's maybe the cause of that. What do you think?
I mean, to be honest, I don't know. It's probably a mix.
Yeah.
But I know, like, going to QPR, especially on derby days away, everyone stands. I don't see anyone sitting at all. I mean, especially when you got London teams come to Loftus Road as well. Even Northern teams, you like had Leeds, you had who do we have the other week? In fact, Norwich were when we played you.
Yeah.
Like, all your fans, I didn't see any of them sitting top and bottom. So I don't know where it is. Maybe, yeah. Like, I can't put my finger on it. It's probably a mix.
Okay, and they've probably spent enough time on the bus or the train anyway. So sitting down anymore is probably too far. But yeah, moving on to the cons now. Now, we obviously mentioned little youngsters maybe not being able to see and all that, but we've addressed that, and you've come up with a really nice idea. But what about security. Now, obviously, there's a chance at the moment. There's a real chance that Millwall, for example, could make the playoffs and could get promoted. And say West Ham were to stay in the Premier League, West Ham and Millwall to clash. Could you imagine that the having a standing section? Like, would it make sense to keep the standing away from the away fans at all?
Oh, jeez. To be honest, it'll be something to see that, wouldn't it? There'll be some sight. You'd probably see the London Stadium on fire by the end. But
it'd be like the Olympic flame, the Olympic torch is still there.
Throwback. But no, I think they'd have to do something. Maybe have half of the Millwall support standing like towards the back, but as you edge towards the pitch, having sitting, because I know when Millwall come to Loftus Road, they only get the top half, and about 4 or 5 rows are like covered by them big black sheets. So and like fans obviously can't stand or sit there. So I'd have to say they'd have to do something like that to be honest, just because otherwise, who knows what could happen.
Yeah, I'd also be interested to see if those seats are easily movable or easily removable. But we'll wait to see on that one. So other than that, do you feel that fans are maybe a bit more responsible now than what they were back in the day? Oh
yeah, I mean, I'd say they are. I mean, I think no one like obviously wants anything like Hillsborough or Heysel in this day and age. Yeah, I mean, people are more responsible, they're more clued up. But then again, you've got the issue, especially like with football fans, if they've been to the pub or drinking beforehand, that's where you can get a few idiots doing stupid stuff. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen lads like hanging off advertising boards, banging on there, swinging like they were George of the Jungle. But fans have learned their lesson. I mean, we've learned it the hard way, sadly. But I think football fans in this day and age are a bit more clued up and sensible.
It's a wonder. I think it's a wonder to see where football would be if it was an all-seater, and this obviously seating regulation had to come into play. That goes without saying. But could you imagine where football would be if that wasn't the case? That would be really interesting to see if the passion still spilled out quite regularly. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say like it probably would, especially with derbies. To be honest, I mean, probably more so in like the London derbies.
Yeah,
because you obviously got clubs with a reputation for like all that sort of stuff. But I mean, there's obviously a chance you could have had a few more tragedies as well, like if you look at it. So maybe bringing the seat stadiums probably has saved more lives. I don't know. It's impossible to tell really, but like you can say probably it has.
Yeah, it's a hard decision in that sense, because obviously you don't want to lose the tarnish of the Premier League and the product, but you can't afford to lose people's life either. Okay, I don't know if you just heard that, but that is the full-time whistle in the background. You may have not heard that. It was quite quiet today. The ref is clearly at a puff. But
should pack up the cigarette.
But before we disappear anyway, we'll just go on to just a sort of simple yes, no. Do you think we'll see it introduced in, say, the next 5 to 10 years?
I reckon so, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And
go on.
Sorry. And I think they like when they do bring it in, it'll be like, have you seen? I mean, I think Bristol City have like, is it retractable seats?
They may well have. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, because I know Celtic have the same thing. I think it'll be that sort of style, safe standing.
Yeah.
So it's like a little Jesus, how would you describe them? See the chairs that you had at school that flipped out when you had the assembly? They're sort of like that. So you've got the option between sitting and standing. I say they'd go with that model.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's going to come 5 to 10 years. It'll definitely be in, I think.
And I say atmospheres will improve as well.
Definitely. I think the issue is it's a very sensitive and understandably sensitive area because of what happened. And I think they just don't want to tarnish anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say people are still obviously quite, what's the words? Not haunted, no, but wary of it.
Yeah. Well, cautious. There we go. Cautious or wary. Take your pick. Take your pick. Anyway, so that was a full-time whistle, and that was a really good debate. I actually really enjoyed that.
So do I. Cheers.
Cheers. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to vote 2 in this poll that's also found below. Be sure to check out the various pieces of content we have across our site, as well as our football predictor at halftimecuppa.com. Before we wrap up, let's give today's panelist, Conor Martin, a shout out. And Conor, how can we follow you on social media?
You can follow me on Twitter at ConorJMartin96.
Brilliant. And you can follow me at DannyCook1996 on Twitter too. Thanks again to today's panelist, Conor. A really enjoyable show, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Danny. Pleasure.
No problem. I've been your host, Danny Cook, and you've been listening to another episode of the Halftime Podcast.